It's a great pleasure to be here on the base of the Illinois National Guard 182nd Airlift Wing. It is my pleasure as Peoria's mayor to welcome home our distinguished federal, state, and military leaders, and to specifically thank our shero, Senator Tammy Duckworth, for leading the effort to retain our numbers of C-130 military aircraft as well as Air Guard personnel on this important base. Next up, we have my friend and ally, Congresswoman Cheri Bustos.
Thank you, Mayor Ali. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be in the congressional district that I'm lucky enough to serve. You all may be asking, why do you have the governor, 2 U.S. senators, the mayor, and a congresswoman all in front of you? It's because of this national treasure, Peoria's 182nd Airlift Wing of the Air National Guard. The elected officials here in front of you want to make darn sure that this national treasure is treated right, is treated fairly, and here for the long haul. And it's not just about Peoria, Illinois, but for our national, worldwide safety and defense. This airlift wing has been in this location since 1947 in the city of Peoria. The wing has more than 1,200 men and women who serve here. It's about a $70 million annual investment right here in Peoria. That's why I call it a national treasure. They've been here during the pandemic. Senator Duckworth, Senator Durbin, and I can tell you they were there for us immediately after the mob invaded the Capitol, the U.S. Capitol, on January 6th. We were there. We could make sure that we helped preserve democracy because of the Air National Guard and what they did. They've been there to Afghanistan, to Iraq, all over the world in combat zones for us, for our democracy, for our freedom. The sense of urgency that Senator Durbin and Duckworth, Mayor Ali, Governor Pritzker, and I had today was to make sure that we continue to keep this 182nd Airlift Wing as strong as possible. We just left a meeting where the Chief of Staff of the Air Force assured us that the C-130s are here to stay. If there's one headline, if there's one way that you want to lead your stories today, it's that the C-130s are here to stay. You know, the phrase for the Air Force, for the Air National Guard is always ready, always there. And it's not just because we love Peoria, that we admire, respect the men and women who serve here, but it's because literally they are the best. It's not just me saying that. That's what the metrics say. That's what the data says. It's what the number says right here at the 182nd, that they're the best. And that's why the decision that we heard today from the top of the Air Force is that they are here to stay. This wing leads the entire C-130 community regularly in performance metrics. It's a testament to the dedication, the experience, and the leadership here. I want to do a shout out to Colonel McDonough and his leadership of the men and women, and that is why they're number one. Peoria's interests, our state's interests, and most importantly, the defense and the safety of our nation are what's number one. So we walk away from this meeting today with the Chief of the Air Force feeling pretty darn good. And it started with Senator Tammy Duckworth making sure that in her role in the U.S. Senate, made sure that that number of C-130s that were going to be at Air National Guard wings were the right number to make sure that we were going to be in good shape. Followed up by Senator Durbin to make sure from a defense appropriations perspective that he was in the right place to make sure that that was going to happen. And I serve on the Defense Appropriations in the House, and we were doing everything we could to make sure that we were doing right by Peoria. So with that, that's kind of the highlights, but I think we have a few other people who want to share some news with you as well. With that, let me introduce Governor Jb Pritzker, and thank you, Governor, for being here as well.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Congresswoman Cheri Bustos. Thank you for your leadership in Washington on behalf of the people of Peoria and on behalf of the people of the state of Illinois. I want to take just a brief moment to recognize Major General Rich Neely. Under his watch, the Illinois National Guard has battled record floods in 2019, a raging pandemic that began in 2020 and continues to this day, and security challenges following the insurrection at the nation's capital in 2021, all while simultaneously deploying troops to overseas missions. Yours has been truly exemplary leadership, and we're so very proud to have you as the Adjutant General of the state of Illinois. These are just a few examples of how our National Guard will drop everything at a moment's notice to protect their fellow Americans. And the number one way that we can show our gratitude is by ensuring that they have the tools that they need to do so. No one fights harder for our men and women in uniform, especially those here in Illinois, than Senator Tammy Duckworth. Because of her hard work and the support of Congresswoman Cheri Bustos and, of course, our senior senator, Dick Durbin, and the rest of our Illinois delegation, the tools to keep us strong and prepared will continue to be available for Colonel McDonough and for the Illinois National Guard's 182nd Airlift Wing here in Peoria, putting tangible resources behind our commitment to serve those who serve us. In Illinois alone, our C-130 fleet brought safety to the state in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, delivering critical medical equipment and supplies, and they went on to move more than 800 troops to D.C. in response to the Capitol riots on January 6th. This capacity is, in short, a critical component of our National Guard's operational readiness. Not only that, but this fleet has been a part of the Peoria and Bartonville family for over 70 years, bringing pride and vitality to the entire region. Today's announcement preserves jobs, preserves this community and this mission, and it acknowledges the humble heroism of our Illinois National Guard doing what they do best, keeping our nation, keeping our state, keeping our neighbors safe and free. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our state's not only senior senator, but also the U.S. Senate Majority Whip, Dick Durbin.
Thank you, Governor Pritzker, and I want to thank Mayor Ali. Great to see you here, and I'm glad you could be with us this morning. My friend for many, many years, Congresswoman Cheri Bustos, and the best Senate colleague a person could have, Tammy Duckworth. Tammy, thanks for calling us together today to join you at this momentous, I'd say, historic meeting. You've heard it said, but I want you to know that it can be seen. Why did they turn to the 182nd when the Army National Guard had to move over 300 of our neighbors, the men and women of the Guard, out to Washington, D.C. to protect the nation's capital? They knew they could turn to the 182nd and the job would be done. The same thing was true when it came to President Biden's inauguration. We needed another security force. We called out more National Guardsmen and women, and it was the 182nd who transported them. When you go through the list of recent accomplishments by the 182nd, it's just amazing. Dealing with the measures that the governor mentioned, bringing high negative pressure tents from the West Coast to Chicago for FEMA and IEMA, supported COVID-19 testing sites and vaccination site efforts with more than 487 personnel, time and again, the 182nd was there to do the job and to do it right. If you think I'm making up, cue the banners. Take a look at that. That's a record, an amazing record that's been written over years and years. Peoria's 182nd has always won top honors as a National Guard unit, Air Guard unit. And today we had the honor to have the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, General Charles Brown, to be here, right here in Peoria with us. It was a meeting in a conference room with maybe 20 people in it, but important history was made. We had a long, good, productive discussion, and then it was up to us, those of us sitting there, led by Senator Duckworth, Congressman Bustos, and I joined in to close the deal. And to close the deal, the question was, okay, if there's a plan in the Air Force over the next 5 years to close Air Guard C-130 units, does it include Peoria? And the answer was no, it does not include Peoria. So we are in a position now to say that the work that we've done in Washington, with Senator Duckworth's work on the Armed Services Committee in the Senate, with the work on the Appropriations Committee I've done with Congresswoman Sherry Bustos, that we can tell the over 1,000 women and men who make the 182nd a success story that they have a bright future because they have done such remarkable work for this state and this nation. We want them to continue in that capacity. And they can trust that as long as she is in the United States Senate, there is one United States Senator who will never forget Illinois, never forget our National Guard, and never forget the men and women in uniform and in civilian capacity that make the 182nd a success story. My colleague, Senator Tammy Duckworth.
Thank you, Dick. That was very generous. Well, hi, everybody. It's good to see everyone here. It's a real great honor to be here with Governor Pritzker, with Senator Durbin, with Congressman Bustos, with Mayor Ali. Really, really pleased at the meeting that we had. But before I begin, I'd like to address the situation that is happening in Afghanistan right now. The images that we've seen coming out of Afghanistan as the country is falling to the Taliban are tragic and incredibly difficult to watch, especially for the countless American service members and military families who sacrifice in that nation. And right now, my attention is focused on the evacuation, which includes ensuring that our nation leaves no stone unturned in our efforts to secure the safe return of our constituents. That includes American hostage Mark Frerichs, as well as all Americans in Afghanistan, and on safely evacuating as many of our Afghan partners as possible. For over 2 decades now, thousands of Afghans have chosen to put themselves and their families in great danger in order to support our troops' mission in their country. And in return, our nation made a promise that we will keep our partners safe. Many of these brave men and women bled alongside our troops, and thousands of them remain in grave danger as our nation completes its withdrawal. We should not break our word to them in this desperate moment of need, and I will remain focused on making sure we get as many of our Afghan partners out as possible and that we ensure the safe return of all Americans. With that, I'm going to turn back to the work that's being done here in Peoria, where you all know how important the work of the 182nd Airlift Wing is. Just during these past 18 months, the 182nd has helped to retrieve critical supplies to fight COVID and transported troops to the Capitol while still completing their traditional mission. And these missions could not happen without these C-130 aircraft. The C-130s are so essential to the National Guard in carrying out work both at home and abroad. They are doing their mission on a daily basis and need to be able to continue that pattern in order for the National Guard to be able to fulfill both its domestic mission as well as its state mission as well as its international mission. Our Air National Guard C-130 flying wings provide nearly half of the Air Force's tactical airlift capability. For more than 50 years, they've brought Americans into combat, provided humanitarian relief around the globe, and supported domestic responses throughout our nation. So that's why I'm so proud that as a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee and as the chair of the new Airland Subcommittee, I was able to secure provisions in this year's National Defense Authorization Act to maintain a minimum total aircraft inventory of 292 C-130s. I was just remarking that in all the times that I served here as a guardsman in Peoria, and I flew out of Peoria Airport for many of those years, I I've never been in a room where the two-star general was the lowest ranking guy. And so you know this was a big deal when you had a 4-star and a couple of 3 stars and a couple of 2 stars in the room. And this is the importance of this work. Because of that 292 number, we were able to get passed out of the Senate Senate Armed Services Committee. We got their attention, and that's why they came here, to also be able to see and acknowledge the great work that the 182nd has done. Establishing this minimum of 292 aircraft would ensure the 182nd's mission remains for years to come, and it also means that our National Guard units across the country, especially the one right here in Peoria, have the ability to respond to new emergencies and domestic missions. And so for years, so many of us have been working to support our hardworking C-130 wing. Dick has been doing this longer than I have, because he understands, just as I do, the critical work and support that this wing provides to our nation. I'm also want to say that I know especially how hard Congresswoman Bustos has worked. I'm proud of the cooperative effort between the 3 of us at the federal level, and on behalf of our own 182nd Airlift Wing, but also as national leaders supporting our military. You have 3 different folks here. I'm on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Sherry Bustos is on the House Appropriations Committee, and Dick Durbin is on the Armed Services Appropriations Committee. This is the importance of our role in Washington, making sure that we protect the hard work that these men and women do here in Peoria. When we get back to Washington after the August state work period, I will be working to send the NDAA to the President's desk so he can sign it into law, and Dick will be working on appropriation the monies for it. Thank you again for the 182nd for hosting us here today, and I really look forward to continuing to work with everyone here to do all that we can do to support and strengthen our National Guard. Thank you. We're going to do questions. We can take some questions. Well, let me just go back to what I said. Right now, my focus is on getting all Americans out of Afghanistan and getting the thousands of brave Afghani men and women who worked with the United States out of that country. We can talk later on about the drawdown and all that, but right now, our focus needs to be on making sure we leave no American behind, and especially for me, the priority is Mark Frerichs, who's from Illinois, who's been held by the Taliban for well over a year. We need to get him home. Well, I think that's a decision that we need to make as a country. I've long said that we needed to have a debate on the authorization for use of military force. Our troops served with great honor, with bravery, with distinction in Afghanistan. They've done their job. The authorization for use of military force that Congress voted on over 20 years ago following the attacks of 9/11, that mission was accomplished. But where we are now is we need to focus on getting the men and women out of Afghanistan safely. We need to get those allies who worked with us, those brave men and women who put themselves and their families in harm's way, we need to get them out. And that is what I'm laser focused on that right now. Yeah.
What do you make of the Taliban promises to offer amnesty to all those who collaborated with the U.S. and our allies?
Yeah, I don't trust the Taliban. So they can offer all they want. I suspect, this is my personal opinion, I suspect that the promises that they make will certainly change once all U.S. forces have left Afghanistan, and so they're not exactly known for keeping their word.
Some of the images coming out of Afghanistan right now have been compared to Saigon in 1975. Is there a Saigon moment for the U.S.?
No, I don't think that I don't think that the discussion here should be focused on an after-action review. We need to be focused on getting our troops out of there, getting Americans, civilians who were there, getting the Afghani forces that were there that worked with us out of there. You know, we made a promise to those men and women who put themselves in harm's way. I flew to Fort Lee, Virginia, 2 weeks ago when the first plane loads of the Afghani interpreters arrived and landed at Fort Lee, and I went and I met with them. I met a young man who had been on a IED clearing detail. He had been wounded 3 different times, and he was there with his wife and baby daughter. He deserved to be there. I was there with a young family, a mom and her 3 kids, and the dad who had worked in the U.S. Embassy And those folks, we made a promise to them, and we need to get them out of there. But I will say again, our troops have carried out their mission. Our men and women sacrifice for this nation, and they can hold their heads up with pride for the work that they've accomplished. It's just as much as my experience coming out of Iraq when I worked there. People have often said to me, was it worth losing your legs in Iraq? It was worth losing my legs for my nation, because I made an oath to this nation to go where this nation sends me, to go, when I was a soldier, to go where my civilian authorities sent me. And so if you want to talk about Afghanistan, then let's have a conversation about the authorization for use of military force. We are letting our troops down when we send them into harm's way based on a debate that we had 20 years ago and has not yet been updated. Where we need to be right now today is focus on getting Americans out of Afghanistan, getting our interpreters and those who worked with us, to whom we made a promise, out of Afghanistan. Because I will tell you, if we do not do that, no one will ever work with the U.S. forces again. If we abandon them and don't make a good effort to get our Afghan allies out, the next time we go in someplace and we say, come work with us and we'll take care of you, no one will believe us. It is our word, our bond, our value as a nation that we need to get these interpreters out of Afghanistan. And I will tell you that we're doing everything that we can. I can't say it in an unclassified environment, but I've been in many meetings. I've gone down there and looked myself at the efforts that are being made to get these Afghani interpreters out of there, as well as Americans who are still there. There are many Americans who are there that are not part of the U.S. forces, who are there working with CARE International, working with international not-for-profit agencies and non-governmental organizations. We need to get those folks out as well. But to discuss in too much detail what is being done will put those folks in danger, because they're still trying to get to a place where we can airlift them out. I'm deeply concerned for women and girls in Afghanistan. I mean, you can say that all you want, but I was just reading a report that they already started knocking on the doors of female journalists and other women that have been working on behalf of the role of women and girls in Afghanistan in particular. So again, I go back to, I don't trust the Taliban, and I certainly don't take them at their word. Thank you.
That may be the Republicans affecting our AV here. Let's start with how different things are. I mean, let's remember how different things were last year. We weren't able to have a state fair, and we didn't have vaccines, and we didn't have treatments, and we didn't have the brave men and women of the National Guard who went out and helped to vaccinate nearly 1 million people across the state of Illinois. So things are very different, there's no doubt, this year than last year. I'm also very proud that what is traditionally sometimes called Democrats' Day, on the occasion that there have been Republican governors, is Governor's Day tomorrow, because we have a Democratic governor, and we all believe as Democrats in the common set of values that I think we've shared for as long as I can remember, which is we fight for working families across the state of Illinois, for lifting up people who need help, and making sure that we're delivering for people all across our state, whether it's Chicago, the suburbs, the suburban counties, or central Illinois and southern Illinois. So I'm very proud of the fact that we're all going to be together talking about all of those things. As you know, because of the changes that have come, the Delta variant causing so many challenges for indoor gatherings, the IDCCA had been having an indoor gathering. I announced that I wouldn't be able to attend, or decided for myself that I wouldn't attend. And because I was concerned about the indoor gathering, I made other plans, and I'm going to be having those plans. Unfortunately, won't be able to attend the morning event, but everybody will be at our Governor's Day event. We'll be celebrating all the Democrats who are running for re-election and those who are running as candidates in 2022, and all the great work that we've gotten done over the last 2.5 years in state government. It's not currently my intention to get involved in a Democratic primary for Secretary of State. Well, virtually every lawsuit that's been filed by people who don't want you to be masked when it's unsafe to not be masked, or people who are opposed to vaccines, they've failed in their lawsuits. I expect that those lawsuits will fail once again. Well, it's very important that we have a requirement for kids going to school to wear masks right now, because as you know, children under 12 don't have vaccines available to them, and the Delta variant, I think we all have seen now, is affecting children to a much greater degree than the original Alpha variant of this virus. So I'm very concerned about the safety of our children and also the people who work in our schools, the teachers, the paraprofessionals, the superintendents, the parents who pick up and drop off their kids, the grandparents. So I think it's just the safest thing to do. People should go out and get vaccinated if they haven't been vaccinated, but those who are unable to, we ought to make sure that everybody in their environment is wearing a mask. When will we be able to take masks off indoors? You know, you've seen that this virus has a certain cycle to it. We haven't been able to predict the cycle very well, but you can watch the numbers and you can see what direction it's going. And we've obviously been able to take our masks off in more environments as the virus has been less virulent, and when it gets more virulent, we're going to ask people to wear masks. And until we get everybody vaccinated, frankly, we're going to be going through these cycles unless this, this pandemic ends on its own, which I don't think the doctors are saying on its own it will end. It's why we have vaccinations. I think everybody here has been vaccinated for something or another, whether it's measles, mumps, rubella, or something else. I think it's a reasonable thing to suggest that we should all go get vaccinated so we can be safe in each other's presence. I hope not. That's not something I have in mind, and I've been very careful. I want to make sure that we're keeping people safe, especially our kids as they come back to school. We've worked very hard to make sure our seniors are significantly vaccinated. We have upwards almost 90% of seniors across the state of Illinois are vaccinated, and those who are most vulnerable. And we have actually a pretty good vaccination rate overall compared to most other states, and the best in the Midwest. So again, we want to continue to move in that direction, be one of the best states in the country, and I'm very proud of the way that most people have reacted and worked together in their communities to encourage each other to do the right thing. Well, I couldn't agree more with Senator Duckworth, making sure that we get our Americans out of Afghanistan safely, and then those who worked with our American troops. And frankly, if there's an opportunity and there are refugees that come to the United States as a result of our ability to get them out, I hope that Illinois will be one place that we'll be able to welcome them to. My own family were refugees to the United States and to the state of Illinois. Were welcomed here, and so I'm somebody who believes especially that those who are working with our military, that are working on behalf of the United States, who happen to be from another country and need to find refuge somewhere, will come here to Illinois. Again, not something that's on the table right now. We're very hopeful that people will continue the upward trend of vaccinations. I don't know if many of you have noticed, but that there has been an upward trend of vaccinations in Illinois over the last several weeks. We're very happy about that. I hope that continues. And again, we're working very hard to get to herd immunity for our state. It may take some time to get there, but I'm hopeful that people are getting educated and that education is leading them to go to their doctor and get vaccinated, or to a CVS, a Walgreens, their local pharmacy. It's really quite widely available and is the healthiest, best thing you can do to keep yourself and your family safe. I'm concerned about that. I mean, healthcare environments, particularly, people are walking in vulnerable. They start out, if you're if you walk in as a potential patient of a healthcare facility, you are already a little bit vulnerable for some reason. And so I'm hopeful that more and more healthcare workers will get vaccinated. And as you know, for workers who work with the state of Illinois, for the state of Illinois, in our veterans' homes, for those who are in 24/7 facilities, the developmentally disabled, et cetera, that the staff will be required as of October 4th to be vaccinated, because I think that's the right thing to do to keep them safe. Again, that's not something that we've put on the table, but I understand that it's happened in other states, and I certainly think that people who are going to healthcare facilities should know that the people that are treating them are, safe, have been vaccinated, and will keep them safe from COVID. I hope that they'll change their minds before school starts, but in the meantime, if they don't, I think they know what the consequences are. Some schools have already suffered those consequences. Look, we're trying to keep our kids safe. Can we all just agree that that's an extraordinarily important thing for us to do? And as we start school, and we're looking at other states that have already started school, kids are getting sick. In fact, there have been outbreaks where they've had to close the school a week or two after they've opened it. Why don't we say here in Illinois, we're going to keep our kids safe. We're just going to ask people to wear masks. We're going to make sure that they're safe in our schools, and we'll watch the direction of the variant and hope that it heads in a direction that's good for all of us, and that there is an authorized vaccine for kids who are under 12, which will help us cover more than 1 million people in the state of Illinois. As soon as they're available, we're going to make sure that we have them, and that whether it's the National Guard or your physician or CVS or Walgreens, we're going to make sure that you have it available to you in your community. Thank you.
Well, as Senator Duckworth says, we're all here. And as Will Rogers once said, I don't belong to any organized political party. I'm a Democrat. I would just say that every party has its differences, but we are united in the re-election of Governor Pritzker and Senator Duckworth, and we'll work out our differences. Well, of course, we all should be concerned about that, and we all have to ask personal questions about what's safe for us and our circumstances with our families. And when the governor expressed his concern about an indoor brunch tomorrow, we moved it outdoors. We're playing by the rules, the CDC rules. It'll be as safe as any place in Springfield if you're out of your home, and I hope that many will attend, but some will choose not to. That is their personal decision. It's a matter of public health and public safety. Can I say a word about the Afghanistan situation? The Taliban conquered 9 provincial capitals in 13 days. No one saw that coming. I didn't, and those who briefed us didn't. We were trying to have an orderly evacuation of Americans, of those who have been loyal to us throughout this battle, and circumstances overwhelmed us. We have spent dearly in Afghanistan over 20 years. Start with the number 2,448. 2,448 men and women wearing the uniform of the United States gave their lives in Afghanistan. Over 20,000 came away with serious injuries. $1 trillion we spent in that country. And over 20 years, we tried to build up an Afghan security force of over 300,000 trained, equipped, uniformed, ready to defend their country. And when they were first challenged, within the last 2 weeks, they melted away. We cannot take on the responsibility of guaranteeing that they are going to fight for our values. We prepared them for it. We thought we prepared them well. But when the time came, they wouldn't stand their ground. And then their government left the country. I don't think anyone estimated that was going to happen, and it has. And that's why we're in this terrible situation today. We know our highest priority. It's been stated by Senator Duckworth, and I agree completely. But beyond that, the future of Afghanistan belongs to the people of Afghanistan, and we've learned a valuable lesson. I'll close with this. 20 years ago, when I voted to invade Afghanistan, it was for a stated purpose. It was months after 9/11. We had lost 3,000 innocent Americans. They told us Osama bin Laden was there with al-Qaeda, and the question is, were we going to go in and get him? And I voted for it, and I'd do it again, to stop that madman with what he did to the United States. But staying beyond that purpose has cost us dearly as a nation. I have great pride with the men and women who served in our military and all those who helped them. They've done remarkable things in the name of fighting for our country and its values. But I am not going to hold Joe Biden responsible for the Afghan security forces disappearing in the battle. We cannot and should not take their place.